Hello everybody! Today we're going to unbox, take a close-up look, and test the Oria Weather Station. So let's first take a look around the outside of the box. And here are the product specifications of the Oria Weather Station. And now let's go ahead and open up the box. And remove the contents from the box, of course. And always make sure that there's nothing else left inside the box, so that's just fine. And we can go ahead and set that box to one side. So the weather station comes with a transmitter, so this should be the transmitter, but just let me set it down and show you the entire contents. So there we go, the weather station with the transmitter. And okay, let's put the bubble wrap to one side. So let's put the compartment back on to the rear of the battery for the transmitter. And then take a close-up look at the transmitter itself. So the weather station measures both indoor and outdoor temperature by means of a transmitter, as you can see right here. So it does accept a couple of batteries, I believe, which are AA, which we'll get to see in just a moment. So there is a little hinge right there in which you can hang the transmitter onto a hook. Okay, so very compact transmitter, if I can get the focus to come back on. And of course, always tricky to get the camcorder to focus on slim objects such as this. There we go. If I try again right there. Okay, so as you can see, a simple looking transmitter with a display at the front. And of course my finger marks on the transmitter right there. Okay, and of course showing you the rear battery compartment. And it's nice to see that there are a couple of buttons at the back in the battery compartment for C/F, which I assume is degrees Celsius or degrees Fahrenheit, and then CH, perhaps the frequency or channel for the transmitter to operate on. Okay, so I think we've spent enough time looking at the transmitter. Let's move on to the, another nice thing to see is that the transmitter can be stood upright because it does have a wide enough base, but of course it will blow over in strong winds, so just be mindful of that, but it does stand up fairly well. Okay, let's just keep it upright for now, and let's move on to the weather station itself, the main unit in which you will want to have indoors. Okay, let's set that down for now and go ahead and remove the rest of the contents from the bubble wrap. So there we go. So it does come with an instruction manual or user guide. And just let me open it right up entirely. So it does have a very good temperature range, but it does vary for indoor and outdoor use. So the indoor temperature range is from 0 to 50 degrees Celsius. And for the outdoor temperature range in which the transmitter would do the measurement is from -40 degrees Celsius to 70 degrees Celsius. So a huge temperature range there. So you can basically use it in Siberia and in hell. That is the transmitter, of course. So from very cold to very hot. And of course, we saw at the back of the outer box packaging earlier, it does show the date display in 7 different languages. So quite good indeed. So there is a clock time and date display that displays with the weather station. So now finally looking at the weather station itself, let's go ahead and remove the protective plastic from the weather station. So as you can see, a nice and simple weather station with a nice clean display there. Okay, and let me just move some of the bits to one side so you can see a little bit more clearly. So it does have a simple LCD screen. And just to show you the thickness, okay, that's good that we have the camcorder focus right on the side. And then now moving on to the top of the Oria Weather Station. So there is a button at the top, as you've just seen right there. And now we have to get the focus to come back on. Right there. And of course on the base or underside of the weather station, once again trying to refocus. Okay, so still looking at the top side and now looking at the rear of the Oria Weather Station. So as you can see, there are a series of buttons there to set the weather station's alarm, date, temperature, and transmitter channel. And it seems to be able to measure or record minimum and maximum temperatures. I might be wrong, but that's based on what I see from the buttons. And as always read the instruction or user manual before operating any such device. Okay, so obviously there is a battery compartment on the weather station as well. So it's fully battery operated, both the weather station and the transmitter. So once again, AA batteries, so 3 AA batteries for the weather station and 2 for the transmitter, should you want to use the transmitter along with the weather station. Okay, and it appears that there is a stand as well. Let me see if I can pop this open. So there we go. So the stand will keep the weather station nice and upright. Of course, just let me left a mark on the screen right there from my little fingers. So there, weather station with the transmitter on the right hand side. So it does have quite a long range as well for the transmitter to work with the weather station. And there is backlighting as well, which we'll see in just a moment. Okay, so I think that's a good look around the weather station. And let me try and press some of these buttons so you can hear and get some sense of the feel and build quality of the weather station. So there we go. And back to the front again. Okay, so let me pop some batteries into both the weather station and the transmitter. So what we require are 5 AA batteries altogether. And so here are the 5 AA batteries, which I have on the ready. And they are the Amazon Basics rechargeable AA batteries, which I've previously unboxed and taken a close-up look of. So you can see that in an earlier video of mine. Okay, so now what we're going to do is first pop the batteries into the weather station. So open the rear battery compartment. And then pop the 3 batteries in there. Okay, so nice to see that it is clearly labeled as to which direction or orientation the battery should go in. And nice to see that the backlit blue LCD light up right there. And you heard an audible beep as well. So there is an alarm clock feature built in. And you can see the seconds of the clock ticking away right there. And just to show you a close-up look right there. So there's a time on the largest display on the left, and moving clockwise there seems to be just a weather station graphic display there. Not sure if that changes or not. And then we do have a temperature or indoor temperature readout in degrees Celsius at the moment with a face, and then humidity for the hygrometer indication. So 77% humidity indoors right now as measured by this weather station. And then of course 20.2 degrees Celsius. And then in the bottom right box right there is the outdoor display, which is measured using the transmitter, which we haven't powered up right yet. And then of course we do have a month, I beg your pardon, 8-day readout right there. So Monday, and then a moon phase display, which is quite nice to see. And then of course we have the date and month. So nice to see that we have a full calendar display with a moon phase, and then indoor and outdoor temperatures with a humidity or hygrometer measurement as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and set it down. So it is quite nice to see that it is actually quite dark, very high contrast if we see it from this angle. So it is a very crisp display. So let me set it right back down, and then of course pop in the batteries, set to one side, and see what happens once we power up the transmitter. So simple slide cover, of course, for the transmitter, and then in the SEPs, 2 AA batteries, simply popping them in the displayed orientation. And before I put the cover back on, oh, nice to see that the readout has shown straight away without having to make any adjustments to the settings whatsoever. So you see the bottom right corner box for the outdoor display. And then of course there is a readout on the display on the transmitter as well. So 21.1 degrees Celsius, showing channel 1, CH1, and then 72 degrees now for relative humidity. Not quite sure how well the camcorder can focus right there, but there we go. I have to keep it really still. Let me hold it with both hands so it doesn't shake too much. So quite a usable display there. And of course there is a slight variance with the display on the transmitter to that of the display of the transmitter reading on the weather station. But we're talking just a very, very fine variance of 0.1 degrees Celsius, but the humidity matches exactly at 72 degrees percent, I beg your pardon. Okay, nice to see that that's all well and good. And let's go ahead and tap the CF button at the rear and see what that does. Okay, so that changes the display readout on the transmitter to degrees Fahrenheit. And if I press it again, that should switch back to degrees Celsius, as you can see right there. Just purely on the transmitter, so no effect on the weather station whatsoever, because the weather station has its own button for toggling between degrees Celsius and degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so there we go. So nice to see that the clock is still ticking. So we're 5 minutes in from powering up the weather station. And of course, we can always set the alarms and the time and whatnot. And let's try the max min button just to see what that does. Okay, so I'm just tapping away, and you can see that the 2 boxes for the temperature and humidity readout are showing minimum, minimum, and if I press again, it's the current reading, and then pressing again is showing maximum now. So it does record the maximum and minimum readouts, and just right there it has reverted back to the current readings. So once again, maximum, minimum, and current. So okay, so great. And of course we want to see the display or the LED backlighting just by tapping at on the top button right there. So super, super bright. Not quite sure how well it's coming through. I mean, I can actually see the LCD on my camcorder. It's actually slightly more intense than that. It's good to see that it is a very dark, well, not dark, but bright blue, whereas it does appear just a tiny bit paler on the camcorder's display. There we go, right there. The Oria Weather Station with the transmitter. It's nice to see everything just working very simply without any adjustments whatsoever. So nice weather readout of 21.7 degrees. But we do have a not so happy face right there. Seems to be a bit grouchy, not quite sure why. but I enjoy this current temperature just fine. So that's the Oria Weather Station. Thanks for watching and happy monitoring!